now we're going to start writing oral reasons. Now, if you get done with a class, you could start kind of your ideal, you could start jotting down some reasons if you wanted, but typically you'll be given 20 minutes at the end, in between for each set of reasons that you need to write. You should have about 20 minutes, which, considering you've got to write them and then memorize them, is not a ton of time, but typically you'll be able to do it. It does take some practice. First of all, the reason why we give oral reasons. Basically, a judging class is multiple choice. There's a heck of a lot of choices. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4, 3, 2, 1, any combination of those. So really, somebody could guess, and they could judge very, very well in a judging contest. Oral reasons make that kind of explain your answer type deal. And so add that element of, we had to know what we were doing in order to win this contest. Because if I got lucky but I bombed all my reasons, I'm probably not going to win the contest. So people who are good at judging usually like oral reasons. People who are not good at judging and guess all the time usually don't really love oral reasons because they don't really know why they placed it. The great thing about oral reasons is it teaches you to evaluate your decisions, hopefully before you make them. So as you're judging the class, I want you to think about what you're going to say later. And as you live life and you are out on a Saturday night and you're about to make a decision, I want you to think, what are you going to say to your friends, to your family, about this situation? Are you going to be able to be very proud and defend what you've done, or are you going to be a little embarrassed? And so don't ever make a decision you know is wrong. Same with judging cattle. If you know that number 4 has the worst udder in the class, and number 4 walks with a limp and has all sorts of problems, don't put her number first. Or number 1, probably she's going to lose because she has all those problems, and it's going to be really hard to defend that when you're given reasons. Okay? We're going to start with a very generic template. Now, if you've given reasons before, if you've judged before, this might seem too basic for you and you maybe don't like it. But if you haven't ever, I want you to stick very, very closely to this. These are the things I'm going to be looking for when I evaluate how you're giving reasons. Okay? We're going to start with, I place this class. I place this class. I want you to write this in your notes. I place this class of, okay? And then it's fill in the blank. And this might be, I'm going to fill in the blank with a different color because it's going to be different for every class. But everything in blue is going to be the same every time you give reasons. From here on out till I tell you otherwise. I place this class of, these were 3-year-old Holsteins. Cows, Holstein cows, okay? I place this class of 3-year-old Holstein cows. Then it's how did you place them? You always need to have how you placed them. It might have been 4, 3, 1, 2. Maybe that's how we placed them. Okay? But you always place them best to worst. Remember that? So number 4 we thought was the best. Okay? And that's a period. I'm going to stop there. Very easy to understand, easy to hear sentence. I place this class of 3-year-old Holstein cows 4, 3, 1, 2. Okay? I'm going to have a slight pause because there's a period. Okay? Now, when I look at this, and you don't have to draw this on your notes, but you can to help you remember, when I give reasons, I'm actually comparing 3 pairs. Okay? I have a top pair, which is 4 over 3. I have a middle pair, which is 3 over 1. And I have a bottom pair, which is 1 over 2. Okay? What this is telling us in this case, our number 2 animal will never be compared to number 4. Because it never got to compete against it, really. Yes, they were all in the same class, but we've separated them out into these pairs. Think of it as like a wrestling tournament or the NCAA March Madness. In different brackets, a number 16 seed might say, well, man, if I could only play such and such, we'd have won. Well, they don't get to play such and such. They only get to play who's in their bracket unless they win their way out. And if they win their way out, then they would be up there. And so think of it as you're only talking those places. So basically that's my first sentence. I'm going to start in my top pair. Okay, I placed, and that is a comma there, I placed, and again that's going to be different, but it's always going to be first place over second place. Okay, always going to be first place over second place. In this case I placed 4, and you can write it as a, remember these are notes also. Nobody ever sees these other than me to judge them. The officials are only going to hear what you say. So if you have some chicken scratch here, some notes, that's okay as long as they make sense to you. Don't cheat yourself and think, oh, I'll know what that means later. Make sure you know what it is. So 4/3, we don't want to read that. In my top pair, I place 4 divided by 3. That wouldn't make any sense. That's what you've written, but it wouldn't make sense. I place 4 over 3. Okay? And in my top pair, I place 4 over 3. Now we're going to start talking about the number. In this case, it was 4 cow. And we're going to say, and this is where it gets a little bit more difficult because you can kind of say it however you want. We have to have at least 3 positive things. I put 3 pluses. Okay? That could mean, and typically, because remember, udder mammary system is the most important in a dairy contest, we're going to talk mammary. Probably at least one of those, maybe 2, maybe 3. But we want to really talk that mammary up. Specifically, we don't want to say she has the best mammary. Okay? The best mammary system. One that's vague, meaning I don't really know what about her mammary was so great. Okay? Because there's lots of things, the mammary system. We got forudder attachment, we got hind udder attachment, rear udder width, udder depth, teat placement, all those things that we could talk about. So one, you hurt yourself by summarizing that because the mammary you could turn that into 3 positives if you're specific. But we want to talk those other things, structure, feet and legs, things like that. 3 positives. Then we're going to have what is a grant. Okay? A grant or an admittance, meaning number 4 was the best. Okay? Remember, we should have a lot of positive things about our best animal. I placed number 4 because she had an udder above the hocks and she had the smoothest forudder attachment. She was also sound on her feet and legs. I've just got my 3 positives. I will grant, meaning I'm going to admit. It doesn't have to be something that's bad about 4. In fact, 4 is our best animal. We probably don't want to say anything bad about it. But it's something that 3 is at least as good or better than 4. So maybe number 3 had more body capacity or had more depth of body. Okay? I will grant that the number 3 cow did have an advantage in depth of body. Okay? And so those are my grants. And that's obviously going to turn into like a sentence or 2 or 3. Then we go into our next paragraph. We've just done our top pair. We're moving to our middle pair. Okay? Now, in my middle pair, I placed, okay, we have in this case 3 over, oops, and that should be green to stick with the system here. I placed 3 over 1 in this case. Okay? Now, I can recycle. You maybe don't have to, but if the body depth up here of number 3 was so good that it's actually better than 4, I can a lot of times, okay, recycle this and move it down here as one of my positives. Okay? Because that's a positive thing about her. And I'm going to look for 3 again. I'd really like to have 3 because this animal, number 3, is in my top pair. She beat 2 other animals. I'm shooting for 3 positives again. Okay? And I always am still going to have a grant. Okay? Still going to have a grant. Okay? I move on. I go into my bottom pair. Bottom pair. I placed, what I placed? 1 over 2. I know it might be getting hard to see. I placed 1 over 2. Again, if needed, I could recycle this grant, move it down here as a positive. Now we're in our bottom pair. Okay? So I'm not going to push you so hard to say 3 things positive, but I do want still 2 positives about this 3rd place animal. Okay? 2 positive, and again, we always have the grant, the big G I'm putting there. It looks like a 6 there, but it's a G for grant. Okay? I maybe should write that out. Grant. Okay? Or admit. Okay? You can say that. I do grant, or I do admit that. Okay? There's other ways to say it. If you do some research, you can probably find some ways. Okay? I'm still going to try to find something nice to say about number 2. Even though it's my bottom, I want to say something nice. Okay? But I don't have to say a lot. After all, she's my bottom. Okay? We're going to close with, in conclusion, one thing we usually use a lot is for these reasons. For these reasons. And you're basically just recycling this. Okay? I place this class. I place this class of 3-year-old Holsteins 4, 3, 1, 2. It's very important that you place it, you say how you do it, and you say it again at the end. That's very, very important. As you're writing these reasons, and as you're presenting these reasons, you need to be very deliberate, meaning like over the top, point out that you're giving positives and that you're giving a grant. Okay? Sometimes students kind of hide that. They'll admit stuff, but they don't really say they're admitting it. Okay? So use these key words, because that's what judges, when they're listening for reasons that stand out to them. So don't just say, in the top pair I placed 4 over 3 because number 4 had the smoothest forudder attachment, greater udder texture, and stronger over a top line, and number 3 was had good depth of body. Okay, see how I hid that in there? I was talking number four, and then all of a sudden I said something about number 3. Okay, give yourself a little pause. I do grant, or I do admit, that number 3 had more depth of body than the number 4 cow. In my middle pair, I placed number 3 over 1. Number 3 had the greatest depth of body of the pair. She had adequate teat placement. Her udder was above the hocks. I do grant that the number 1 cow had a wider rear udder attachment. She just did not have the body capacity to compete with the number 3 cow, and so on and so forth. We get through our reasons. We have them written. Okay? Now you're going to have more on your page when you actually write your reasons in this, because each one of these little signs is like a sentence or a phrase. Okay? Nobody sees this except for you and me when I'm coaching you on how to write reasons, but I need to kind of understand what you're saying. Once you've gotten it written, it's important you get it written up there very quickly, as quick as you can, because then you get time to rehearse. Okay? And that's going to be important. You're going to stand. You can have your notebook up until the point when it's time to go give your reasons. So when you're waiting around, you can kind of be rehearsing, practicing. Okay. Then you're going to set your book down. You're going to walk up. You're going to stand maybe 2 foot in front of the judge. You're going to have your hands behind your back. The reason you have your hands behind your back is so that if you're nervous and fiddling, they can't see that. Hands behind your back. I'm fiddling my hands right now, and I'm not fiddling them right now, and you probably can't tell a difference. You're going to have your shoulders, or your feet shoulder width apart. The reason for that is if you've got them close together, we tend to sway or wobble. Okay, we don't want to watch me wobble. We want to stand very solid. Okay, and we start there and we say, I place this class of 3-year-old Holstein cows 4, 3, 1, 2. In my top pair, I placed 4 over 3 because 4 had the strongest forudder attachment, better udder cleft, and greater udder texture, and so on and so forth. As you notice, it was difficult to make up a class. It's difficult to do that, so take good notes so that you can see this class through your words, and you can describe that. Throwing in some things like, I placed the number 4 over 3, the black cow, those visual cues, or the bobtail cow. Those can help as well. So hopefully this helps you.